12th letter, in his name be he glorified, and there's nothing but it glorifies him with praise. Peace be upon you and upon your companions. My dear brothers, you asked me a question that night and I did not reply because it's not permissible to argue over questions of belief. Your discussion of them had turned into a dispute. For now, I'm writing very brief replies to your 3 questions about which you were arguing. You will find the details in the words. The chemist wrote down which, but it did not occur to me to mention the 26 words about Kadesh, divine determining, and man's faculty of will. Have a look at that too, but do not read it like a newspaper. The reason for my referring the chemist to study of those words is this. Doubts about matters of that sort arise from weakness of belief in the pillars of faith. Those words prove all the pillars of belief. Now we have some questions, and they were arguing about the questions. And at last he says, the doubts about matters of that sort arise from weakness of belief in the pillars of faith. So in this discussion, in the sentences, if there is something interesting you find, we can point that out and share with each other comments and questions, inshallah. This is like the introduction part and the reason for these 3 questions.
So can you explain the context again? There's somebody who's a chemist,
they were arguing.
And he comes and he prompts a discussion, right? And then the discussion turns to a bit of a debate or something?
Discussion, fight. Yeah.
Then they wrote it about to start later, start reply.
Yeah. And there's also another part in the letters. I will read that part too. And for us, it's also applicable for our life and how we deal with our other Muslim brothers. It says the primary condition for discussing matters of this sort is to argue fairly, intending to discover the truth. It is permissible for those who know about the subject to discuss it, so long as they do not do so stubbornly nor give rise to misunderstanding. Evidence that such an argument is for the sake of the truth is that if the truth emerges through the opposite party, a person is not upset but pleased. I'm arguing about the topic to discover the truth. And if my opponent, like if he is right, I should be pleased. For he will have learned something he did not know. If it had emerged through him, he would not have learned much and might well have become arrogant. If I'm right in the discussion, it might make me arrogant. If you are right, I should be pleased because I learned something I didn't know. This should be the basis of discussions.
That's where, sorry?
Like,
Where is that? You just read from where?
The same book, Letters, 28th letter.
so basically you should have a discussion fair and square.
Right.
Right.
To discover the truth.
To discover the truth. Your intention, motive should be to discover the truth, not to deceive.
Not to win over.
You're not to win over just a discussion.
Right.
And here in the introduction para, it says the sentence which got my interest is doubt about this matter of the sort arise from the weakness of belief in the pillars of faith. Pillars of faith, I think they were talking about, of course they are talking about the Muslims and non-practicing Muslims, which pillars of faith, they were not that pious, not praying too much, right? In that cases, they fall astray from the guided path, and the things and doubts arise. That's the cause of it.
It's not just about on purpose and believers. I think like all the questions that arise in us caused from weakness of our faith.
Yeah, by
that's-
non-practicing, I said like weak in iman. Iman is faith, isn't it?
Yeah, weakness of belief in the pillars.
Belief, yeah, that's
you.
what it says, basically.
Here, like the questions we will study. And before starting the topic, I wanted to mention Aziz from Kazakhstan, your friend. He said in his country now there's a flood and so many people lost their houses and their lives. He asks your prayers, inshallah.
My consolence and prayers.
Yeah, there's, I think in the beginning, maybe before
You
down. Yeah, yes. Argue over the questions of belief. Your discussion of them have turned into a dispute. For now, I am writing very brief replies to your 3 questions about which you are arguing. You will find the details in the words it comes slowly. But it did not occur to me to mention the trend. Okay, the reason I advise the chemist to study those ones is this. I think, can you come down? Yeah, the doubts about the methods of that sort are also. But yeah, debating or discussion is okay, but debate or arguing or like fighting is not allowed.
Just to win the debate.
Yeah, to win. Even, for example, when we talk to disbelievers maybe, if the things are like debating,
Yeah.
like fighting, then if you are raising your voice,
Yeah.
then it's not good.
Yeah, it will just drive them away.
Yeah.
Even if you are right, even if he feels that you are right, he will not accept what
But
you have to
yeah,
say.
he will feel like embarrassed, and he will go away right away.
It's not permissible to argue over questions of belief, it's not permissible to argue.
Inshallah, here, let's come back to our questions, inshallah, the questions that they were arguing about.
Okay.
In 28 letter, is also the author of other question regarding about Azrael and Musa alayhi salam.
Right.
Yes, that is the Ustad mentioned is there are 2 kind of ayah. One is the mahkamat, and another one is not obvious. Hadith also like that one. So like mutashabihat is right. The mutashabihat part should not be discussed among the ordinary people. Yes, this problem may be settled by scholars. It's not if such questions are discussed, will cause troubles and is confuse the normal people. I think that his point is
So
here.
it's a very important principle. They're arguing and so many millions are watching and
Yeah.
it's affecting them negatively.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob? Okay. If there's no more comments, inshallah, the first question, I hope we can finish it. Just 2 questions. First question, what wisdom does it spring from Adam alayhi salam being expelled from Jannah, paradise, and some of mankind, the sons of Adam, being sent to hell? What was the reason for it? The reason for it concerned the charging of duties. The duty with which Adam was charged yielded such results as the unfolding of all human spiritual progress and the revealing of all human potentialities, and man's essential nature being a comprehensive mirror to all the divine names. If he had remained in paradise, his rank would have been fixed like that of the angels. Man's potentialities would not have been disclosed. In any case, the angels, with their unchanging ranks, are numerous, and there is no need for man to perform their sort of worship. Since divine wisdom required a realm of accountability commensurate with the potentialities of man, who would traverse infinite degrees, he was expelled from paradise for his well-known sin being the requirement of human nature and contrary to that of the angels. That is to say, just as Adam, being expelled from paradise, was pure wisdom and pure mercy, so is it just and right that the unbelievers should be sent to hell. So from this on, he will talk about the unbelievers part, and we can discuss the Adam part from the beginning, inshallah. So the question, what wisdom does it spring from? Adam being expelled from Jannah. And the result, some of the mankind end up in hell, and actually most of the mankind. So this is the question they were arguing about. The answer, the wisdom of it concerns the charging of duties. Charging of duties. So we have very heavy phrases here. We can discuss it in one sentence. Adam was sent, charged with such a duty that the unfolding of all mankind's spiritual progress and the revealing of all mankind's potentialities and man's essential nature, being a comprehensive mirror to all the divine names, are the results of it. So I see the phrases here like the spiritual progress, unfolding of our spiritual progress. And in the following, he says, angels, whose ranks are unchanging, and they are numerous, right? A lot more in number. Unchanging. If Adam had remained in Jannah, his rank would have been fixed like that of the angels. Man's potentialities would not have unfolded, would not have disclosed.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Or do you want to wait to the
I
end?
don't know, yeah, it's good too.
The question would be then, why couldn't Allah show him his potentialities and his abilities in Jannah? That would be the response of the question, I would imagine, his next question. Why does he have to come to this world and go through all of these hardships and be given a human body and go through all of the trials and tribulations? But the thing is, in Jannah, Adam alayhi salam, and we as well, we didn't know that we were in Jannah. Like the fish doesn't know it's in water. But as soon as you take the fish out of water, it's very difficult for the fish. It starts to choke, it starts to asphyxiate. It's like our trials and tribulations. We're taken out of Jannah in order to understand where we're from.
The value of heaven.
Yes.
Just to know the value of Jannah, we are put into a trials for this.
Also to know our true being, because we are created by the pre-eternal and post-eternal, and we are eternal as well.
Yeah.
And we don't know that. We have to know what limitation is, so that we can know what infinity is.
The exact value of
Absolutely. The fish doesn't know what water is
yeah.
when it's in water.
Yeah.
you take it out and then it starts, you know, gasp, 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 and you put it back and it says,
Yeah.
this is where I was.
Yeah.
And then it knows what it is. It knows it's a fish and it belongs in water, and we belong in Jannah.
Yes.
But to know that, you have to come out of it, right?
We have put it out to the water just for trying.
We were cast out of heaven in order to know that we are from heaven and we don't belong in this world.
Yes.
And some fish say, "Oh, this is fine," and stay outside. Well, like metaphorically, some fish say do that.
And here, like, do we know how long he stayed in Jannah, Adam alayhi salam? Could it be like a million years in like,
Could be.
how do
I
you
don't
count?
think it's even timed. I think it's timeless.
It could be like maybe like 1 year for us, maybe a million years, maybe a trillion years. I'm saying it from infinity point of view, as you said, like timeless. And if we stay there, we wouldn't appreciate it. But Allah Ta'ala sent us here like for 50, 60, 80 years. And with these 80 years of finite, we understand the value of infinity.
Yeah. The Christians, because they talk about the fall of Adam, they call it Felix culpa, which means happy mistake.
I think it's like,
Happy
Yeah.
mistake?
So Adam alayhi salam, sorry?
Is it happy?
Felix culpa, yes, because when Adam alayhi salam, through his, not sin, but through his mistake, it's very interesting. Iblis tricks Adam, and he says, "Eat from the tree of khulud, shajarat khulud, the tree of, and you will become eternal." But he's already eternal, so he's tricking him, right? And so Adam alayhi salam doesn't sin, but he falls for the trick of Iblis, and then it's a happy fall, because then he knows what he is when he falls. But lots of difficulties as well, but ultimately it's for a good reason, a good purpose.
I want to add something like when we strike him, like he doesn't actually realize that he was already living an eternal life. That's why he made a mistake.
Yeah.
He got tricked in it. That's the point. Like he doesn't realize that I'm already eternal. What's the point of getting eternal again? Yeah. So
Very
that's
powerful.
got him tricked. Lured by.
it's also here in the following sentences.
Sorry,
Ustad says,
before coming to this, expelling is like dismissing. But in original text, it says ikhraj. Ikhraj is not dismissing, not expelling. Therefore, if we say expelling, it's a negative thing.
being taken out, maybe.
Yeah, being taken out is, I think, a better term. But if you dismiss, then
There's no coming back, is there? If you
Yeah.
dismiss someone.
therefore, I think we should also pay attention to this. That spelling or that translation may not be one-to-one. Since Adam as-salam is taken out of paradise, what's the wisdom there?
It has a negative connotation, right?
Yeah. I
Ex-
think expelling is like dismissing.
I think it's used in different ways. I'm not sure. I mean, if you're expelled from school.
Your mentality is as British,
Yeah, but that doesn't
If
mean
you
that
say
doesn't mean we
expelling.
always understand what we're saying.
Sorry?
That doesn't mean that we always understand the nuance in the words. Like expelling from school means
Yeah.
you can't come back. If you get expelled from school, I mean that's it. You can't go back to that school. So expel from paradise is wrong, because you can go back to paradise, because hubut is a fall from which there is a possibility to rise. Unlike nuzul, when the rain comes through nuzul, it doesn't go back.
Yeah.
But hubut, you can go back. So expel is, you're right, expel is wrong.
And ikhraj, in original
Sent out.
text, ikhraj.
Sent out.
But it can come in.
Yes. It can come back.
Sent out, but can come in.
Yes.
While we asks the question must also be kind enough, you know. Then it must reflect the meaning there. I think we can think about that.
The origin of expel in the Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English, it is from Latin word pellere, means drive, and ex out, driving out. So it's like ikhraj.
Like ikhraj?
Ikhraj, yes. Driving out. But maybe the connotation could be wrong in that regard. It's a forcefully driving out. In that regard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not forcing him. Like he kind of submitted. He realized his mistake. There is no enforcing on him. In here, in expel, there is also forcefulness meaning. That's wrong. But the driving out meaning is already there. But additionally, forcefully driving out with expel. So that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not forcing him. He already submitted. He realized his mistake. So still problematic, as you say.
Shouldn't we look at this along with the meaning of Hadith Qudsi? Allah wanted to be known and He created Adam. And in Surah Al-Baqarah we see all this description, his conversation with the angels. Now, I think the emphasis point here is Allah has a very special purpose, a very special creature of Him selected specifically for these jobs to be known and discovered, and for this dunya was necessary place with all these embroideries and art and manifestation of nakedness. There is secret manner, and the doer is hiding behind everything, and he wants to be discovered. Adam alayhi salam is the best person, and his children.
And he has to be sent out in order for that to happen.
Yeah. So he was sent into a laboratory, observe and find out the facts.
And there's also potentialities to be improved, more improved. If it was forever in the paradise, then his rank was the constant, stable. But by sending to the world, then potentiality can improve more, and then it can go beyond the level of the angels.
And from that point, in the following sentences, Ustaz says, you also asked, wouldn't it be better like if he stayed in Jannah and Allah Ta'ala would unfold his potentialities there? And then in the following sentences, Ustaz says, indeed, since divine wisdom requires a realm of accountability appropriate to the potentialities of man being unfolded. So it's not suitable, right? In Jannah, there's no harm, there's no any struggle, striving. Allah Ta'ala created a realm of accountability appropriate to the potentialities of mankind to unfold.
Could we say it's a bit like the baby in the womb? It has so many potentialities it can't use in the womb. So it has to be sent out. It has teeth that it can't use, it has hands and feet that it can't use to the full extent. So it has to be sent out.
And he kind of suffers when he first inhales the oxygen in the lungs.
And he gets a slap to
He
make
hurts.
Good example.
That's
Sounds
super
kawaii. But
important.
it's a shafada slap, right? Shafada.
Sometimes in Ghana,
From time to time, we describe the world as an example, realm of example, realm of the exam, and we are under examination here. But that doesn't reflect the complete reality. Actually, that world is realm of examination, but at the same time unfolding the potentialities. At the same time, improving the potentialities can only be done in this world. why the students attend to universities, for example.
I think
In order to improve the potentialities. If we say, for example, to someone, yeah, that gentleman has potentiality to become a physician, for example, doctor, but without getting the training, he cannot be a physician. Then the potentiality of that certain individual will be unfolded in the faculty of medicine. Yeah, similar to this, the potentialities must be unfolded, therefore we are here. Human being is on the earth. In order to flourish those potentialities at the same time. Not the, if we say only the place of the examination, why the place of the examination? I didn't want to come here. I didn't want to get the examination, for example. But the potentialities must be unfolded, must be improved. That's the place for the potentialities to improve. Ability.
Abiler, it's better if we can raise our hands, because if one speaks and another responds, it's kind of like chaos. Shall Abdullah raise his hand?
Thank you. I just want to say that I think it's extremely appropriate what Kulnabi said, because in the womb there is rahmah. Even the name of the womb is rahmah. And Jannah, we know, is a tajalli of rahmah, is a manifestation of the name of rahmah. So it's entirely opposite. It just fits so well. So that's, I think you can explore that example extremely. I mean, what you said next, I think, is babies have hands and feet. He was created with them. If he stays in the womb, it'll be terrible, actually. It will be terrible.
Right.
SubhanAllah, amazing.
Saying like, for example, why did Allah send Adam alayhi salam to Jannah? Is like saying, why did Allah send us to the womb first, right? Why didn't we born in this world? So we had to be maybe in Jannah first, then being sent to this world, potentialities, and being getting back there, inshallah. And we read, inshallah, if we have comments, it's better if we can stick with the text and saying, for example, revealing of human potentialities. I have a comment on this, like this, inshallah. And also, I can also raise a comment. Yes.
As it is described, every creation has two faces. One looks to the creator, one looks to the object being created. And so here for Adam and us, one aspect is the development of his potential as described here in that sentence. The other aspect is, as I said earlier, the Allah's purpose to manifest on it. No, I mean that's his names and attributes to be understood and realized and known.
Yeah, here it says man's essential nature being a comprehensive mirror. Comprehensive mirror. Maybe if we stayed in Jannah, we would be a deficient mirror, right? Not reflecting all the names. Comprehensive mirror to all divine names. The sun, for example, reflects how many? 7? 7 names?
7 names, 7 colors.
7 colors. No. The names only. The names of Allah is reflected through the sun. Not only
8 stars up.
Not
8 or 7? Sun.
the sun.
Yeah. 8.
Not only being the light, but also it's a source of life too.
Yeah.
And here also for us too, in us we can see, and to the degree of our ability to show, and maybe the sufferings help us show more of the names. At the end of second flight, it's said that in order to display the endless embroideries of his names, Allah Ta'ala wants to display his names. He has created man like a machine capable of receiving unlimited varieties of pain. Unlimited varieties of pain, and that happens in the world, right? Not in Jannah. As well as infinite varieties of pleasure. Within that human machine are hundreds of instruments, each of which has different pains and pleasures, different duties and rewards. Simply, all the divine names are manifested through the pains and pleasures that we experience in this world. That's the world very appropriate for us to manifest the names of Allah through our life. Yes.
Maybe if Adam was in Jannah, then only two people were in Jannah. Since in Jannah multiplication is impossible. Then two were in Jannah. When they taken into the world, inshallah, millions will go back.
Billions, inshallah.
Billions will go back to Jannah, inshallah. This is one aspect. The second one, I wanted to say something, but I forgot. But I remember right now.
Here also it's very important for us to appreciate the reason of Adam alayhi salam being sent to this world. The sin is sin, this original sin.
Maybe fault is better.
Fault is better.
Fault is better.
Mistaken.
In Quran it says Iblis made him slick.
But I'm saying it from the point of view people see it evil, right? Like how people see it. Like they see it like a sin, and they see it evil. But what we see evil is actually the creation of evil. Inshallah, we will come to that. This is the topic of this discussion. What we see evil, like this is evil for us, the thing that we commit sin or fault. But actually, the fact that Allah creates that is for tremendous wisdoms, as we mentioned. We cannot count the wisdoms, right? Like you were saying, mashallah, so many wisdoms. Everyone is contributing. Like we cannot count the wisdoms in the creation of what we say.
Yeah, in Jannah, nobody can be ill. Then, but in the world now we can be ill. Then we can experience Shafi, the name Shafi. But in Jannah, I think it cannot be experienced. It cannot be lived. Maybe it can be known theoretically, but experiencing something is more valuable to internalize it. Then, so maybe some other names also can be said. Rezak and also Shafi and some other names can be easily understood in the world.
Thank you. We have more to cover. Inshallah, we can. If there's no more comments, the unbelievers part. And he said at the end, Adam alayhi salam being taken out from the paradise was pure wisdom and pure mercy. So is it just and right that unbelievers should be sent to hell? It's justice. As mentioned in the third indication, in the 10th word, the unbeliever only committed one sin in a short life, but within the sin was infinite wrongdoing. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. It negates the value of all beings. It denies the testimony to divine unity of all creatures and is disrespect towards the infinite names, the manifestations of which are to be seen in the mirrors of beings. Therefore, in order to avenge the rights of beings on the unbeliever, the being's monarch, the all-compelling one of glory, casts the unbelievers into hell. This is pure right and justice. For an infinite crime demands infinite punishment. From the beginning, we can mention the unbeliever only committed one sin in his short life, but within the sin was infinite wrongdoing. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. Insult to the whole universe. And I fear when I read this, I felt like we also commit some of it. And Ustad says an unbeliever doesn't have to be 100% unbeliever, right? A believer cannot be, as we mentioned in the lecture, a believer, as we mentioned, he can say I'm a believer, but we can see many of the characteristics of unbelief in him. And we may fall short to this too as well. Insult to the whole universe.
Well, I guess forgetting and insulting are two different things. I didn't get your point.
Here I say, for example, insult to the whole universe. It negates the value of all beings. Do we see every being in this universe valuable? Like this is a question.
Yeah.
And as unbelievers, apparently, like they don't see any value. They just throw away like all the food to the garbage. And sometimes we may do the same. Right? If we, without care, if we can just throw away the food, for example, without care, or to the animal, for example, we see cats and dogs, or any animal, or even insects. If we can just kill without care, right, it would be like an insult to them, and seeing them worthless.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will we be treated like the same punishment, infinite punishment, like disbelievers are treated? Like if we do wrongdoing, like you said, insect, or we do israf with food. So will we be treated like the infinite?
Yeah, there are degrees, right? I mean, as I said, like we are believers, alhamdulillah, but we may have some characteristics of unbelievers, so we need to be more cautious.
Yeah.
And insult, like why would you insult someone? Like can you possibly insult a prophet? No, right? Even by mistake, can you
No.
insult? No, like we are because it's so way above, like in our view, you cannot insult a prophet. But now, sometimes we insult each other, right? And like forget about each other, maybe I'm talking about insects, right? Even that. And I remember, I don't know if it's attributed to Imam Rabbani, as if a person sees himself above a stray dog, he doesn't have true faith. So I'm talking about the value point of view, the fact that it's a creation of Allah for a purpose. It also reflects divine names. It's valuable. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ. Everything glorifies Allah with praise, every single thing.
Doesn't matter what it is, from tiniest insect or atom to the stars.
Yeah. So the atoms, right? Yeah.
Because I want to give a practical example. Someone in the eyes of whole nation is considered to be the president of the country and elected, and he is taken to the office of governance, and all of a sudden a command comes and you are going to sweep the streets. So all of a sudden you take the person from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low and smash it. So every atom is on duty to demonstrate Allah's names and attributes at the highest level, either it goes into the human body or elsewhere. And it does the same thing in the best possible manner and style. And unbeliever takes that high value, like the elected president, and uses that as a sort of strip super or just nothingness, sort of lowering the rank. This doesn't even describe what an unbeliever does actually at the level of destruction. So I'm trying to imagine what sort of difference there are between considering that as a creature of Allah, and the other says no, it's a result of coincidence, for example.
From the example you gave, like the people we see at the top, let's say president, and can you tell me, Abdullah, for example, who is at the top of humanity from religious point of view, for Allah, who is the most valuable person? who is the most valuable person? Who is the most respected person
For Muhammad.
for Allah?
For Allah.
Yeah.
Maybe the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah. Why?
Indeed.
Is that Wasam?
He's awesome. Because he's the first person that who showed him the Quran, his words, his wisdom.
And he worships Allah.
Yes, his worship.
His ubudiyya to Allah. And his taqwa in the Quran also says, Allah Ta'ala says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Right? The one who has like more taqwa, more ubudiyya is at the top. And the one at the top, of course, the prophets, and we respect them, as you said. And if a person, forget about like if a person says, I believe in Allah, but he disrespects a prophet, what would that make him?
Disbelief.
Yeah. Like if you insult a prophet, right? It would make you lose the belief. And it's an insult to the prophet. And as you said, like all the atoms from stars, like from atoms to the stars, everything is in constant worship. I'm comparing them like the prophets, like they are in constant worship. Like even when they sleep, their eyes sleep, but their hearts do not sleep, right? Like that, all the beings, they are in constant ubudiyya to Allah. And our disrespect towards them is a mistake. And for an unbeliever, that would imagine not only like insulting one prophet, they insult all the atoms in the universe. Like infinite number of creatures, infinite crime demands infinite punishment. Yes.
In Science of Miraculousness, there's a question just related to that topic. You know, the sin of unbelief persists a short time, but its punishment is eternal and unending. How is this conformable with divine justice? And if one does not accept this, how is it consistent with pre-eternal wisdom? And if one accepts this even, how does dominical compassion permit it? You would be told, if one accepts that the penalty is infinite, it's established that unbelief perpetrated in finite time is in 6 respects a crime of infinite proportions. Infinite proportions. Firstly, the person who dies, an unbeliever, will remain as such even if he lives to all eternity. For he has corrupted the very substance of his spirit, and his corrupted heart has a propensity to commit infinite crimes. This is firstly. The secondly, even if unbelief occurs in finite time, it's an infinite crime and gives the lie to infinity. I mean, it denies the whole universe, which testifies to divine unity. This is the second. Thirdly, unbelief is ingratitude for infinite bounties. وَلْتَعُدُّ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. When you try to count the number of the bounties bestowed, it's innumerable. Then unbelief is ingratitude for infinite bounties. Fourthly, unbelief is a crime against infinity, that is the divine essence and attributes. Fifthly, as indicated by the hadith, the heavens and earth contain me not, yet I am contained in the heart of the believer. The human conscience is, in regard to its outer face, limited and finite, but by virtue of its reality, the roots of its inner face spread and extend to eternity. In this respect, therefore, it's infinite. Unbelief, however, sullies it and it dwindles away. Sixthly, although opposites stubbornly resist each other, they are similar in many instances. Thus, on the one hand, belief yields fruits of the delight of paradise, eternal happiness, and on the other, unbelief produces everlasting suffering and pain. It may be concluded, therefore, if one puts these 6 aspects together, that infinite punishment fits the infinite crime and is pure justice, since it is infinite crime in 6 aspects.
And the first one you said, the person who dies as unbeliever will remain as such even if he lives to all eternity. Ahmet abi, in the morning you mentioned the butter example. If a butter is spoiled, there is no going back, right? And like that, he says the unbeliever's heart, it became in such a state that there is no going back. Even if he stays in the world for 1,000,000 years, he will stay as an unbeliever, even to the eternity. He will remain infinitely unbeliever.
I just had a comment on Leviad's exposition. It's difficult for us to understand infinite punishment because it's timeless, and therefore we think in a linear fashion. And also, we think that it's committed in finite time because we are in time. But actually, unbelief takes place on the level of malakut, and it can't be quantified. It's not a mulki crime. It's a crime of the heart, it's a crime of the nafs, and these are malakuti things. So infinite means boundless, right? So if I cheat two people in this life, if I'm a believer and I cheat a couple of people, if I ask their forgiveness, those crimes are quantifiable, right? Or if I steal, and I keep stealing and I lose my finger, that's the punishment, and the punishment's finished. Inshallah. But unbelief is not quantifiable. Unbelief is something that you can't even gauge the extent of it. And there are degrees of unbelief, okay? And there are severity of unbelief. But you can't say a kilo or 1 instance or a meter. Because it's unquantifiable, it's indefinite, then the punishment is also indefinite, to fit in with the indeterminate nature of unbelief. And this is why it's described as being either everlasting or whatever, abadan, khalidun fiha abadan. There is a difference of opinion on what that actually means. Does hell end? Does punishment end? Some people don't want punishment to end. I don't want to digress. I work with drug addicts who are in rehab, and most of them want to get clean, what they call clean. Some of them say, I just can't. And they don't, and then they die without having gone through rehab. So there is something in the human soul that gets used to hellish situations. It sounds strange for us, but it's a fact. And I think actually in Risaleh it says that those who are in hell will get used to it.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually will get used to it. And I see it, unfortunately, in some of the people I work with. Most of them, alhamdulillah, they're able to get clean. Some of them can't. They accept the hell that they're in. They're used to it. And there's a very interesting book by C.S. Lewis, I think I mentioned it, called The Great Divorce. C.S. Lewis is a Christian theologian, and he writes wonderful books. And he writes a book where he imagines the people of hell go on a day trip to heaven in a coach. So they go from hell to heaven. And you would think that they would love it when they get there, but it's so alien to them when they get there. The people in heaven are walking on this beautiful green field, soft green grass, but the people of hell, when they get there, the grass is like knives cutting into their feet. And the people of hell say, people of heaven say, don't worry, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it, stay. And the people of hell say, no, you can't stay here. So they all decide to go back to hell. This is a metaphor, clearly. And I think this is what in the Risaleh it says, that they get used to it. They will get used to it.
In the Malakut point of view, could it be like the representation in this world, when you call them to guidance, to the tranquility they don't accept, they want to live in their healthy state psychologically?
They don't want to live in it, and yet they can't not live in it. don't understand it, how that works. But
When you said clean, you know, normally water cleans the dirt. But if a steel gets rusty due to water,
yeah.
but it can only be cleaned by fire.
Or acid.
No, by fire. You know, if you put it in the fire and by hammering, then all the rusts are taken away.
I think this is where the brother asked, do we have the same problem? I mean, hell for us is therapy, no? We have to see hell as therapeutic, otherwise, because some believers will also go to hell for a short time.
Rehabilitation.
Yes. Yeah, why not?
May Allah protect us. Talking about the hellfire.
So infinity of the punishment of unbelievers, what I understand from your description is that it's an indeterminacy. Like we cannot grasp and withhold it in our limited capacity. It's like uncertainty, or mathematically putting it, 1 divided by 0 cannot be described mathematically. It's like it goes to limitless. Like you cannot say one number for that.
Stop actually calculating this, yeah?
Yes.
Stop calculating this, yeah? It says
Yeah.
if you kill one person.
Just
He says, 1 minute of unbelief is equal to 1,000 murders.
Yes.
And 1 murder is 25 years of prison.
It actually puts it in the calculation.
The thing is, in the next world, the time is going to be completely different. So, I mean, in the Risale, what it's saying when it uses these numbers means it's an indefinite period.
Yusuf was
He just mentioned about unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. A meaning came to my mind. They look to creatures just for its benefit. And if there is no benefit for him or her, they don't want to, how can I say, give value to them. But believers, maybe some believers also don't know this meaning. Also, you start say another part of the Risale, just a transient moment is enough for its creator. Also, its value, the creature's value.
For that, I will just make one comment. Here, when you said, for example, we say we should love each other for the sake of Allah, right?
Yeah.
Not, for example, if Tariq Abi, I see so much benefit from him, and I love him.
Yeah.
And I actually don't love him, right? I actually love what I benefit from him. But if I see harm from a brother, and I still love him, that's the love for the sake of Allah, right? Fi sabilillah. I see no benefit from him, and I see harm, but we are believers, we are brothers, and that's love for the sake of Allah. And the beings, as you said, loving them, if you see benefits, everyone loves them, even animals. But when you see harm from them, right, or when you see no benefit from them, that's when we should see their value before Allah and respect them.
Also, just the sentence now, sorry. Ustad also mentioned in the 22nd letter, Brotherhood, about, they said we have lots of connection with other Muslim brothers. If we know this, as you said, Abi, if we if harm comes another our Muslim brothers, we don't look, because we know there are lots of many connection with us, between us.
The strong bonds that connect us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Allah creates all the time, yeah? His creation, the action of creating is continuous and endless, because he always says, be, and it is pure. So, someone who denies Allah, the creator, is denying the creator of continuous creation. So, endless. In that respect, actually we can and put engineering into it, like make some calculation at the start there. So infinity came into mathematics as well. So there's some sort of description of infinity. And if you consider kun fayakun is eternal fact. This is, before the universe, Allah, no, for us it is before and after, but say that even with this dependence of time, we can think in terms of time and say Allah has been creating all the time, endlessly. Although it's not reality, because we don't know, and timeless concepts in our mind. So one who commits this the crime of denial is committing an endless crime for which there should be endless punishment.
And also if we add Colin Hocam's Melekut point of view too, right, that's definitely endless crime.
Furthermore, it is the nature of man's spirit, if it knows that the torment eliminates its crimes and sins, maybe punishment, eliminates its crimes and sins, to be content with it, to alleviate the burden of shame. It will then acknowledge that the punishment is fair and that it deserves it. Out of its love of justice, it receives pleasure from it even.
Where is this available? Where are you?
Science of miraculousness.
Whereabouts? Can you give us the...
There are many honorable people, there are very honorable people in this world who long for the execution of justice so as to be saved from the shame of their crimes. The unbelievers go to hell and abide there forever as their perpetual abode. But after some time, paying the penalty of their actions, they grow accustomed to it in a way, even if they do not deserve this, and adapt to it. Also, their punishments are reduced and mitigated in many ways in recompense for their good deeds in this world. Then the good deeds is not perishing, even denier of the Allah, if they perform good deeds, they will see the result in the hereafter. Even though if they are disbeliever, they go to hellfire in any case, but in hellfire their punishment will be reduced. Then they will see the result of their good deeds. Their good deeds in this world, as indicated in some hadiths, and this is extracted from hadiths, these are instances of mercy for them, although they are not worthy of them.
Although they are not worthy of them.
Yes.
It's amazing. Yeah.
We also have a short evil part. It's also related to what we talked. I hope we can read like one paragraph from the second question. Why are devils created? Almighty Allah created Satan and evils. What is the wisdom in it? The creation of Satan and evils. Isn't the creation of evil evil, and the creation of bad bad? The answer, God forbid. The creation of evil is not evil. The acquisition of or desire for evil rather is evil. For creation and bringing into existence look to all the consequences, whereas such desire looks to a particular result since it's a particular relation. For example, there are thousands of consequences of rain falling and all of them are good. If through mischoice some people receive harm from rain, they cannot say that the creation of rain is not mercy. They cannot state that the creation of rain is evil, for it is due to their mischoice and inclination that it is evil for them. Also, there are numerous benefits in the creation of fire, and all of them are good. But if some people receive harm from fire through their misuse of it or their wrong choice, they cannot say that the creation of fire is evil, because it was not only created to burn them. Rather, they thrust their hand into the fire while cooking the food through mischoice, and made that servant harmful to themselves. Creation of devils. creation of evil is not evil. The acquisition of or desire for evil rather is evil.
Time for a question. Time for a question.
Yeah.
I have huge problems with the notion of the creation of evil, and I think that Ustad is talking metaphorically, and it is a tanazul for us. Evil is not makhluk. Evil is non-existence, and he says this elsewhere in the Risale. Actually, evil is non-existence, and non-existence is not created. And there is no name, ashar, astaghfirullah, for Allah. And in Quran it also says that everything that he creates is good. So, I mean, it's like darkness is not created either, it's maj'ul. Ja'ala dhulumat. He placed the dhulumat, he didn't create it because it's absence. It's absence of light, and evil is absence of good. So it's not created actually. And he says this here actually, he says, look, even though he says the creation of evil, and I checked and I know he uses the word khalq, this is, I think we have to understand as a metaphor.
Could it be from our perspective?
He says it is.
What we see evil.
He says the creation of rain is not evil. But
It's funny he gives the example of rain, right?
Yes.
As like evil.
I was thinking of Brother Aziz. In his country now, people are being made homeless. So if I'm made homeless where I am, I'm going to say, this evil rain.
Yeah.
Right? But Allah doesn't create anything evil. Evil is an absence. And it's relational as well, because I'm losing all my goods, or I'm losing my family, then I'm going to think, I'm going to have to blame the rain. Right?
Even if he does create, doesn't create to create for the evil purposes, it creates to reveal the goodness of good qualities.
So in that sense, creation is not evil, so it's not evil at all.
And it doesn't become an evil because
Allah
the intention is
Allah
different.
is haqq, and Allah is, all of the perfections. There's nothing in him evil for it to be reflected.
Like, if I'm saying this is good, good to what? If I say this is bad and this is good, then we can compare. Then this becomes a good, because this is bad, we can compare. If there's nothing to compare, then how this is,
But he doesn't create anything bad. What he creates is as far as I see it, is the outcome of our evil intention, right? So if I take a match and I go to an orphanage and I set it on light, a fire, people will say this is evil, right? And the evil is from me, not from the match, not from the fire, not from the burning, not from the death of the orphans. These are all created by Allah, and they are khair. Where is the evil there? The evil is in my intention.
This goes into
And that's not created.
strictly as well, slips into qadar.
And it's funny here, Ustad gives the example of rain, right? Everyone would appreciate the rain is good. But some people are harmed from it. Like, let's say I made a house where the flood was going to happen. That's the qadar of Allah, right? The flood is going to happen. I made my house maybe in the wrong place and with wrong materials, right? I got harmed from the rain. But the result is also always good, right? From rain we see thousands of benefits to the nature, to the us. Even in that event, the fact that your house got destroyed from the flood, even that happening has good results, just like the rain. It has thousands of benefits for you and for others in that happening.
There's a good example a friend of mine gave me. He said, if I take it, sorry, did someone? No.
Just the sense of you said not rain of its result bad. You said also at their misuse of their will.
Right.
Not for, coming from the creator. Also.
If I take a knife, right, this is my friend's example, and very slowly, mashallah, slowly put it into the person next to me, then I say slowly for a purpose. Slowly put it in, and then he, mashallah, dies. Then I'm going to be punished for that, right? But Allah's creation of my hand is not evil. The creation of the knife is not evil. The creation of his body is not evil. The creation of the insertion of the knife is not evil. And
Bloody
actually,
is not evil.
surgeons do this every day, right? They do exactly
But
the
that
same thing.
incident itself is a creation. The incident.
Right.
Not the materials of the incident,
Yes.
but the incident is a creation as well.
That
How
needs
is
to be created.
Yes, but the creation of all of those actions, right? The knife going in.
Maybe more obvious example is the creation of Satan.
Or Satan, yes.
Satan his creation is pure khair.
That's the thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So creation of evil